Welcome to the Joy of Coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 39 of The Joy of Coding. It's 2016. So good to see you. I hope you had a good new year. I hope if you had a holiday, I hope you had a great holiday. And if you didn't have a holiday, I hope you got a lot of great work done. And yeah, it's a new year. I have a beard. New year, new beard. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'm going to keep this thing for very long. We'll see. Um, And yeah, we've got a great show lined up for you today. So let's take a look at what's going on. All right, let me pull up the agenda. So if you're new, you might not know this. Depending on where you're watching this video, if you're on Air Mozilla, down below there's an additional links section. There's like a little tab where you can click additional links, and it will have a link to this agenda. If you're watching this on YouTube, I should have put the link to the agenda in the description. Also, there's a new link in there. Oh, someone already commented that they like the beard. Thank you, Richard. Um, the other link, I've added a new link as well to the additional link section that will allow you to rate this episode whenever I'm done. I'm going to try this year as kind of a New Year resolution. I'm going to try and measure how much people enjoy the episodes or what they're getting out of it. And I don't know, the form might change over time, so the science might all get um, all like screwed up by changing the variables. But don't worry, I'm not writing a paper or anything. I just want to see if what I can do to make the stream better. Okay, so I'll mention that link again before this episode's done so you can rate this episode. So, here's the agenda. What are we doing today? Well, I think the first thing I want to do is finish a review that I started this morning. I got interrupted. I had to do some other things, but I'm going to finish off that review. And the second thing I want to do is work on a new M8 that was added to my plate just before the holidays began, and it's kind of high priority, so we'll continue with that. I'll talk about it once we're done the review, depending on whether or not we get through the review. I mean, who knows how long this review is going to take. It could be complex. So let's take a look at the review. So what am I reviewing? If you've been with me for the past couple of episodes, you might know that we've sort of gotten down and dirty in session store code. I mean, I did all this stuff for making it so that whenever we shut down close a window, we don't use kapows. And if you're curious to know what a kapow is, check out the agenda. Again, there's a glossary. We also worked on making it so that if you shut down the application, the full application, we don't use kapows as well to like flush the state of each tab, because each tab in a separate process has a message queue, and that queue needs to be flushed in order to save the state of that tab, that sort of thing. And that is all not using kapows anymore, so that's good. And so I've sort of gotten pretty good at the session store code. I've started to become pretty familiar with it. And so, as always, whenever you get familiar with a region of code, people who are messing around in that region of code start sending review requests. And that's fine. I mean, that's part of being involved, is to review code. And so this review request landed on my lap. Apparently, it's been sort of gone back and forth with another session store reviewer, Tim Taubert, a couple times, and it's been forwarded to me because Tim's starting to work on security stuff. So I've started to take over a little bit on this review. And what is it doing? Well, it's from the performance team. And the performance team, one of the things that they like to do is add probes to measure various things, various windows of time in Firefox. And we have a bunch of probes. If you're interested in knowing about the probes, if you go to About Telemetry, you can hear about a whole bunch of them. Like About Telemetry, if you're uploading telemetry, and I encourage you to, so there's two parts. There's the FHR data upload, which is like this really, really small set of data that you opt out of sending. And then there's the opt-in, the extended telemetry reporting, which is quite a bit more sophisticated. There's a lot of information in the extended telemetry recording. And those probes that I'm talking about are in the extended telemetry recording. If you're curious to know about what that first part is that is opt out, that's all the old FHR data. It's what happened was Firefox Health Report and telemetry kind of got combined into this single thing now, and so this is just talking about the Firefox Health Report. So nothing's really changed there, but they've just been combined. So some of the things we like measure are how long it takes. So let's see, measurements to do. What's a good here, histograms, like how long it takes to run the cycle collector, for example. And there's a histogram for this session of how long it's taking to run the cycle collector. And so there we have tons of histograms, and you can read this yourself. You don't even have to, I don't think you have to submit the information. If you're just curious to know how your Firefox is running, where it's being expensive for certain things, you can look at the data here in About Telemetry, and that can help you figure out how your Firefox is doing. It's pretty verbose. There are a lot of probes here. And what we're reviewing is a new probe that's being added in. So all of these probes have names like predictor, total predictions, and cycle collector time. And this probe that is being added is about startup of the browser, specifically restoring tabs. We're going to measure the time until all tabs are restored eagerly are restored. That's the goal. And I already started a review, and so let's continue it. I'll actually kind of walk you through the patch itself. What the submitter in this case is David. I'm going to butcher his last name. I always just call him York. That's his IRC nick. So I'm just going to call him York. I don't want to attempt to butcher his name on the air.
I don't think so.
So what he does is he adds a couple of new observer notifications to the session store object, because this measuring thing is this module, I'll call it, that exists outside of Session Store and is going to attach listeners for various things for Session Store. And that way, it's not like built into Session Store, it's kind of external. You have this modular architecture, and it just sort of waits for notifications and then like starts its stopwatch and then stops the stopwatch. So the first thing is to make it so that Session Store is emitting the notifications that we care about. And in this case, he's added two new ones. Session Store single window restored, Session Store restoring on startup. So the first one, like we're already capturing, for example, the amount of time it takes to initialize the first window. Here's an example of us running a stopwatch for telemetry for a particular probe, in this case FX session restore startup onload initial window MS. But we also notify now so that externally we can start our stopwatch for not just this first window but all windows, I believe is the goal. And then whenever the last window is restored, I'm pretty sure that's what this one's about. Where is this one running? We're inside restore window. Oh, we just notify when after each window is restored, we're sending an observer notification. And the first thing I want to know, like, didn't we already do this? We have this thing called send restore completed notifications. So do we already do, like, are we sending more notifications than necessary? Let's find out. What does send restore completed notifications do? So there are some cases where we won't send a notification. We'll return here. So I think he wanted one that is like for every single window that's been restored, send an observer notification. Okay. And then whenever the last one is done, then we notify observers that the browser state has been restored. And that's what this one does. I wonder if this should go above this send restore completed notifications. I'll escape that. Oh, actually, I'll just disable Markdown. Since otherwise, we might send after, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, so there's an issue. Gonna collapse all this down. Okay, so that's all that he's done to Session Store. I'm gonna mark this as reviewed. I've reviewed that file. This is a new feature we've added to our review board plugins. Is now we can mark a file as reviewed, and I can track that. So now here's the module that he's added, startup performance.jsm. And so let's take a look at what he's doing. So this is a bunch of boilerplate. If you've ever looked at a JSM before, this is what you normally see. The license, we're in strict mode, we're exporting this symbol. We create the CU, CCCI little aliases that we use everywhere. He's got a constant here called collect results after milliseconds. So we've got 10 seconds here for some reason for collect results after milliseconds. And then he's observing some topics, some observer topics. Session store restoring on startup and session store initiating manual restore, which match. Oh, they don't. One of them, session store restoring on startup, that matches this one. Then we have session store initiating manual restore, which I guess already exists. Let's make sure that this already exists. Initiating manual restore. So what is this observer notification? Oh, he added it here. Sorry, I missed a file. Or I haven't reached this file yet. He's adding a new observer notification down here whenever in about session store, which is this page, if you've ever seen this page. Session restore. That's this page where after like a crash or something, we'll show you a list of things. And then so you can manually restore your session here. And that's what he's, I guess whenever we do the restore, we'll send an observer notification. Okay, that makes sense. We're starting to do ESLint stuff now. So maybe I should care about things like 80 characters. So I'd already started a review here. There's just like a bunch of stuff he's holding on to, a bunch of state, which is fine because I mean this thing doesn't run. I worry when you have a thing that has like records state. I worry about it when it runs for a long time because it can, depending on the complexity of the state it's maintaining, it can get into like really weird states. Sometimes unexpected states. Maybe that's just because I've been studying functional programming lately. But because this is just worried about startup performance, I'm not too worried. We're exposing, or not really. These underscores mean that these are kind of private methods or members. What calls startup performance init? That's the first thing. Startup performance init. That's called inside of NS session startup, which imports it and then initializes it. And NS session startup is automatically started by the application. So this looks fine. So that's the entry point. We add all these observer notifications, and then we're like, that's what we care about, are these observer notifications. So the first one that would come in, I think, is restoring. When we start restoring. Now, if we had crashed or something, then we wouldn't start restoring immediately, and that's what this initiating manual restore is about. So we'd wait for this one. But let's suppose for a second that we are correctly restoring the browser state. Then we start recording on restoration starts. And that could occur like, I want to make sure that this will always occur, because like sometimes whenever you start the browser, you're not configured to restore your session right away. You'll restore it after you like click. There's a button down here that you can click to restore the session. I want to make sure that that's going to run when we do that. Restoring on startup. Or is that initiating manual restore? Is that like, oh, again. Maybe I should quickly trace the path of whenever you click that button, what do we do? So if we look at about home, where is that button? That button is hidden. It should be down here. Whoops, I didn't mean to click it. It should be down here. Yeah, it's restore previous session button. It has this ID, restore previous session. Let's take a look at what it does. If we click it, then we send this message about home restore previous session, which will send a message up to the parent, and that will get handled here. And then we'll call restore last session. And restore last session will forward to the internal session store internal. And then restores the session state in the last session. This will attempt to merge data into the current session. Window is open. Pin tabs. Okay. So does initiating manual restore? Do we care about the case where if the browser is set up to auto-restore tabs, this probe measures the time elapsed between the instance we start session restore and the instant we have finished restoring tabs eagerly. At this stage, the tabs that are restored on demand are not restored yet. Okay. So this measurement does not care about the case where you click on the About Home button. All right, that's fine. And this probe, this is how you define probes inside this histograms.json file. Manual restore duration till eager tab. Session restore. If a session is restored by the user clicking on restore session, this probe measures the time elapsed between the instant the user is clicked and the instant we have finished restoring tabs eagerly at this stage. Okay, so this other probe is the one we care about. Is auto restore. So we do on restoration starts false. What about the case? Okay, so I think I've found a bug here. I think. What about the case where the user has initiated manual session restore from About Home, from the About Home button? That's not captured here, is it? Okay. Always phrase it as a question instead of just being like, "You are wrong." Because I might not be right. My assumption might be wrong. So I'll ask it as a question. Like, it's a gentler, more constructive way of reviewing. I also noticed that I think I had originally suggested this in a previous review of putting, like, I was worried about re-entry if a start timestamp already existed, but I don't think it can, because we remove these observer topics immediately after, and the only reason you'd enter this is because you saw an observer topic. So the first time we enter, we remove them, so you can't re-enter. And then, okay, as soon as we enter, so restoration is started, so we start recording time. Date now. Start timestamp. And then I have a question. Why aren't we, out of curiosity, why aren't we using telemetry stopwatch here instead of, why are we manually recording timestamps and deltas instead of using telemetry stopwatch? So we have the session store single window restored observer added. Always make sure that you remove your observers. So where do we remove that observer? Single window restored. He removes it down here. Okay. So let's make sure we get there. So he adds the observer, and then he sets up. This is a weird construction, but I understand what he's doing. He's creating a promise and then stashing the resolve method of that promise inside the outer object, and that way he can resolve it from outside of this scope, this function scope. And as soon as that promise gets resolved, then he's going to do all this stuff, which is apparently we haven't restored any tab if there was no latest restore timestamp. Once we're done restoring tabs, update telemetry. So what we do is we update the histogram and then we reset. Start timestamp is null. And if we error out, we do nothing. Nothing. Okay. So this is all like setup, this is teardown, and the stuff in between is what we care about. So the single window restored thing is what we want to know. Single window restored. Okay, big comment. Let's read it. Session restores just open a window with initially empty tabs. Some of these tabs will be restored eagerly, while others will be restored on demand. The process becomes usable only when all windows have finished restoring their eager tabs. While it would be possible to track the restoration of each tab from within Session Restore to determine exactly when the process becomes usable, experience shows that this is too invasive. Okay. Rather, we employ the following heuristic. We maintain a timer of collect results after MS. What's collect results? Oh, 10 seconds. We have a 10-second timer that we expect will be triggered only once all tabs have been restored. Whenever we restore a new window, hence a bunch of eager tabs, we postpone the timer to ensure that the new eager tabs have 10 seconds to be restored. Whenever a tab is restored, we update the latest restored timestamp. After collect results after MS, we collect the final version of the latest restored timestamp used to determine the entire duration of the collection. Note that this heuristic may be inaccurate if a user clicks immediately on a Restore on Demand tab before the end of collect results after MS. We assume that this will not affect too much the results. Reset the delay. Okay, so it's a little complicated. It's a little complicated, but all right. Start timer. What does start timer do? Start timer, so this is some of that state that we care about. If we've fired before, then we don't care. And if there's a dead timer, then we clear, or a deadline timer that exists, then we clear it because we're going to create a new one. So this makes sure that we don't do it like too many times. One thing about this beard is I love doing this now. I don't know if you out there, I don't know who you are, but if you're capable of just putting hair here somehow, just glue it on. This is this is fun to do. If you can grow it, great. If you can paste it, great. If you can just color it on, I don't care. But this is a very pleasurable thinking sort of gesture that I am enjoying. So
What happened?
there you go. What's happening? So we set up this timer. This timer is going to go after 10 seconds, assuming that we didn't enter start timer again. And what's going to happen? We're going to get the resolve finished promise resolution function that we stashed up here. We're going to hold on to that. We are going to clear out everything. So that everything is done at this point. That's when we assume everything is done. We clear out the timer. We say we've fired. We say that we get rid of resolve finished. We remove the observer, and then we resolve. Okay. Current timeout handler. Gonna finally to, I wouldn't say ensure, to reasonably ensure. Always hedge, hedge, hedge. So after 10 seconds, we'll do that. So we start, as soon as we see a single window restored, we will start the timer. And so every time a window starts, so suppose you've got 10 windows that are restoring. Every time each one of those opens, we like kill the old timer and start a new one. So the last time a window opens is whenever this timer, I shouldn't say opens, is restored, is whenever we like, that timer is going to go after 10 seconds. And every time that window is restored, we take a look at the observe the restoration of all tabs. We assume that all tabs of this window will have been restored before collect results after MS. The last call to observer will let us determine how long it took to reach that point. So we have this observer. We're going to add these event listeners. In the window that opens, we add an event listener for SS tab restored. And then once we have finished collecting the results, clean up the observers. This promised, once we finish collecting the results. So that's the other reason, I'm worried that if something goes wrong here, well, then the events won't be removed, I guess. But he's got a lot of guards here. He puts a try catch around here. He puts a try catch around here. So it'll probably happen. All right. So these tab restored things get fired for each tab that's been restored, and then we update the timestamp with now. And then the last time that's done, then we resolve, and then we're going to look at that last restored timestamp. And then we take a delta. So that's why he's not using stopwatch. Why are we, instead of like, couldn't we just wait, just use the same approach, but instead of, oh, because it's occurring on a timer. Yeah, okay, I know why he's doing it. So that's why he's not using telemetry stopwatch. The reason he's not using telemetry stopwatch is because by the time, it's because of that 10-second timer thing. If he stops the timer in here, then you've got like this 10-second additional like window of time that's been added onto the stopwatch. You're waiting 10 seconds before you stop it. So that's why he's using this, I understand. Okay. He says it's less invasive this way. Maybe it's because it's better for performance? All right. I'm willing to just accept that. So that looks fine to me, actually. That looks good. And we reset. Startup performance is added. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to mark this file as reviewed. This looks pretty good. York writes clean code. Gotta say. He adds the module to the Moz build file so that it gets packaged correctly. This file's already been reviewed. Here he is firing the... I am worried that we're not handling the about home case correctly. This looks fine. So I'm going to say this looks good. This looks good to me. You know what? I don't care about this comment anymore. I think I want to delete this comment about the 80 characters. I'll just tell him to run ESLint on it before... Tentative. This looks really good, but I'm wondering if we're not handling the about home case. Are we? Reviewed. And what's this other one? Determining number of tabs windows restored by session restore. Statistics on the session we need to restore. So total number of eager tabs. He starts out with zeros. And then, because you could do multiple restorations, he resets them to 0 again whenever restoration starts. Remove new line. Too many new lines. And then when does this occur? This will occur whenever when we're done once we're done restoring tabs. This is in startup performance again. Okay. We're all done. Total number of windows +1 here, total number of tabs +1 there, total number of tabs of eager tabs goes here, total number of tabs. Okay. Is that right? Container item count. That looks fine to me. Please run ESLint on this before committing. Thanks. Boom. We're done our review. That's great. That's great.
I can't do my work.
Sure we can. So that's done. That's done. Let's move on. So that was a good half hour of reviewing. We're done this bit. We're going to move on to this M8 thing. So I talked about kapows briefly at the beginning of this episode, and how like we'd started to get rid of them in various places, like in Session Store, and that's how I got familiarized with Session Store. And the whole reason we're trying to get rid of these kapows is because they're kind of a crutch. Maybe you've heard me say this before, but they're a crutch that allowed us to turn on multi-process Firefox earlier than it would have early, I should say. Early because we didn't have to change a lot of the underlying code that runs the front end of the Firefox browser, because it would just work. And the reason for that is because the kapows make it so that there's this illusion that the parent process has synchronous access to the content process's stuff, specifically like DOM stuff, JavaScript objects. Like, if you've ever written an add-on or written a Firefox patch where you've like manually reached into the browser stuff and like mucked around with it, that works in pre-ETNS world and now in ETNS world, but it's using kapows, and that's bad because whenever you've got these two processes that are separated, that content process and parent process might be doing two completely different things at the same time. So when the parent process says, I need you to get me information about this DOM node, because I'm going to change some attribute, if the content process, well, basically both processes get stuck for a second, because parent has to send this like high priority message and then wait for the response from the child, and the child might be doing something crazy, like it might be broken, it might be like doing a permanent while loop in JavaScript, or it might be garbage collecting, and so the parent is like blocked waiting for the child to finish its work and give an answer back. And the more you interact with those items, the more kapow messages you're sending down, and that's not good. So we want to outlaw kapows for browser code. If you're an add-on author, if you're out there, don't have no fear. We're going to keep kapows working for the browser shims. We're going to make it so that we're only outlawing kapows in non-add-on scopes. But then slowly we're going to hopefully turn kapows off for like as soon as we start noticing that fewer add-ons are using kapows, we're going to just like, this is how we phase out kapows. They were a crutch that we are phasing out. If you've ever had like a broken ankle or something, you had crutches, that's what kapows are, and now we're moving to a walking stick from the crutch. And then we're gonna start slowly jogging. We're gonna do some physio, and then we won't have our. We'll be back. We'll be back. We won't have kapows. I don't know. That extended metaphor didn't really work out the way I wanted. So outlawing kapows. The good news is, I don't have to do the work to make the kapows not work for browser scopes anymore. Thankfully. Bill McCloskey, Bill M, has already done that work. Seems to work, yes. He wanted to know if I'd seen it work, and I did. But there are a bunch of test failures. We have a bunch of tests that use kapows in various ways, and some of them will trigger things. Like there are bits of the browser that still use kapows. We've tried to get rid of them, but there are some that we just don't know about. And by turning them off like this, we see in the test failures where those places are. And then once we get all those tests fixed, we'll turn them off, and then hopefully people will file bugs if there are places that our tests didn't cover because we don't have 100% coverage. And then we can say sayonara. But this is a great way of say sayonara to kapows, and this is a great way of making sure that new kapows don't get introduced. We get rid of the old ones, and we don't allow the new ones. Someone is pinging me in IRC, and so I'm going to quickly. I need to figure out who is pinging me in IRC. Who has pinged me? Someone in. So that was live hacking. Live hacking at the moment. Can I get back to you in 50 minutes? Yes, but live hacking back to you. Okay, so I have listened to my messages, and now we can move on. So we have some test failures still. What are the test failures? Great question. Wait. Now, what are you saying? Ping you when I'm free. So what are the test failures? Let's see. I had written them down. Oh, let me put some notes in here. I've got notes for this bug, but I didn't put them in my agenda. So these are the notes, and you can follow along. I'm going to put them into the agenda, a link. So if you refresh the agenda page, if you're following along, you should now have a link to notes. Here, I'll sync to make sure that you're getting them. Sync more times. And here are the tests I've already fixed. And now I've got more busted ones. And what happened? I think I pushed more recently than that. I have to find, like, give me a second. I'm going to find my most recent push to try. Repo try author M. Conley. Because I think I saw some new ones. Yeah, here it is. Here's the new one. Bill M's Get Incumbent Global Patch. And then I saw a failure here. And so it's possible that I've broken something. Test timed out. I should look into that. So I'm going to add this. That's a high priority because this is non-ETNS. So I think I've actually broken something. So I'm going to put that here. And then perf web page performance alerts. That's also interesting. I'm going to put that next because that's also with non-ETNS. Although that might be intermittent. What this universe was triggered, false equals true. Yeah, you know what? That's probably an intermittent. I don't think I care about that one. Boom. The other one I do. And then over here, test tempted to use a flaky timeout value 250. Yeah, that's an intermittent. Don't care. Show scrolled, so I'm gonna mark these. Oh, I have to be logged in to do that. Log in. Oh, alright. Now I'm logged in. Save. Done. And over here, this failure, that might be new. I should look into that. Although, yeah, so I should look into that too. And then this one, that's weird. I need to figure that. Browser capabilities, promise chain, failed to enter. So this is, I'm going to add that one as well. Yeah, that might be related. And then over here, this is an intermittent that we already know about. So I'm going to mark that. Save. All of the DevTools tests pass here. And then we have a bunch of failures over here that I think I've already written down, like performance. Oh, I thought, oh yeah, add-on performance alerts. I thought I had fixed that one, but apparently not. Jank is at least 300 milliseconds. The universal listener was triggered. So this looks like it's failing. So I'm going to uncheck that, but I will put it below. And I'll fix the other ones first. Then we have like all of these ones that I'm pretty sure I've, yeah, capabilities and broadcast, we know it's broken. BC6, that's the same thing. And then we have a bunch in here like all these DevTools ones, and I've written all those down already, and there's a ton of them. So we'll get there, but these ones are the high priority. So DevTools, failures below, and that's going to be like a whole ball of wax. I have no idea. I don't really mess around in DevTools too much, so I have no idea what I'm going to do whenever I get down there. Like I'm going to start exploring into brand new territory. It's going to be fun and exciting, but these are the 4 I care about. Let's see if we can get them figured out before the end of the episode. So the first step is, can I reproduce this failure locally? And this one, I should note, this one is failing in non-ETNS as well. And there's another one. What was the other one that was failing in non-ETNS? Was it capabilities? Browser broadcast, browser capabilities. So I'm going to put, I should close this. Browser capabilities. What else? And then there was this other one. Yeah, 108. These ones are failing for non-ETNS. These 3 are failing for non-ETNS. So let's see if we can reproduce this with non-ETNS. Come on. Go, 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 go. Hey, there you go. test pass, and then it just sits there. It just sits there after this test. So let's take a look. Do we have any errors? We have this like stopwatch one. This deprecation, but that's it. I don't see anything about kapows, so maybe I screwed up somehow. Let's look inside this browser broadcast test. What was the last thing that it said before we failed? We passed. Session storage data has not been overwritten. Not been overwritten. And then I had put in this yield flush thing because I was waiting for the tab state flusher to flush. And maybe this is what is failing. Like if I get rid of that, what happens? Maybe those yields are not necessary, but I feel like they should be. Yeah, okay, so that makes the test pass. This yield flush is not working right. So what is going on here? Tab state flusher flush is supposed to return a promise. Info yielding flush and then flush. What is it? What are you? What is this? It should be a promise. It should be a DOM promise. Yeah, it's an object. It is like, can I inspect this object a little bit? Let's see. How can I inspect this object? What's a good way of inspecting this object? I forget if I can use console.log in the scope. Let's find out. I can't just concatenate it. Log flush. And you know what? Just to be sure, I'll just modules console.jsm. Real sloppy. It's an object with a then. So it is a promise. Does the promise never resolve? Is that the problem? We're waiting forever for this promise to resolve. So initiating tab flush. Async tab flush. And then tab state flusher. Dump sending flush with ID retrieve active request, and then we store the resolve inside per browser requests. And then when we resolve, dump gotta resolve with a flush ID. Okay. Let's see what that's all about. Session store. I wonder if there's a message ordering problem. There might be a message ordering problem. Or you know what? Let's see. Let's see what goes on here. Sending a flush with ID 4. Got to resolve with a flush ID 4. Sending a flush with ID 5. Initiating async tab flush. ID 5. So the flush with ID 5 never comes back. Okay. I can work with that. Flush ID. That's up here. Received update message. JSON stringify message.data. No. It's my sloppy way of just blasting stuff out of the console in a structured way.
Here we go!
Okay. So we send a flush ID with 5. We receive an update 1. Flush ID 0, flush ID 0, flush ID 0. Got a resolve. So we always will hold on to that. That's no good. We might be leaking in this case. Because we've got this map. Oh, per browser. It's a weak map. So we won't leak. Okay, that's good. Set permanent key. Well, we never get a resolve up. And you know what? I think that's okay. I think this test is working as intended. I think this test is actually supposed to be testing what... Like, if we take a look at the test, we create a tab with some storage data. We flush to make sure our tab state is up to date. We get the state, then we modify the session storage down in the browser. We wait for that to occur. And then we flush all the data contained in the content script but send it using asynchronous messages. We wait for the state. Yield promised tab state. Session storage data has not been overwritten. We make sure that storage, example, the initial value. Modify storage, so we'll set initial value, okay. Is storage test initial value has not been overwritten. This is going to attempt to modify the session storage of browser and write, instead of test initial value, to be test onset tab state. And we send the message down to do that using asynchronous messages. And we promise the tab state to be the old one. Set it up to be the old one. Storage, make sure that's the initial value. And then we remove the tab. Promise tab state. Overwrite it. And so I don't think, I think whenever we overwrite the tab state, we'll end up final update message. I don't fully understand, but you know what? I added that yield, and I probably shouldn't have. I think I'm not gonna rock the boat. I'm just gonna leave it the way it was. And if it was good enough for the original author of this test, who I trust, his name was Tim Talbert, I'm pretty sure then it's good enough for me too. Maybe I'm chickening out a little bit. I don't want to blow too much time attempting to unwind what's going on there, though. Because it doesn't seem worth it. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to revert the change I made. Where did I make a change? I made a change here in sessionstore.jsm. That's it. So I'm going to revert that. And I'm going to amend that. And that should take care of browser broadcast. The next one is browser capabilities. Is that one going to pass? This one also failed with, oh, I should run that old test with --e10s as well. Make sure it passes. I'll do that next. That passed. So I wonder if the reason it failed before in the log from the try server is because the previous test, browser broadcast, had failed. Because sometimes that will result in a broken state. What I should probably do is run the whole session store suite with --e10s, and that looks like it's working. So I think that's okay. I'll run it without e10s, and then I'll run it with e10s. Now, unfortunately, this is probably, if you've seen this before, these tests take about 1.5 minutes to run, 2 minutes sometimes, and I can't really use my machine while they're running. So I will just talk to you a little bit while we wait for these tests to finish. How are you? Good. So in the form that I've put in the additional link section for how you can rate the video, you can also add comments, not just about like what you want to see, how much you enjoyed it. Like, I encourage you to check out the form right now. Fill it out whenever you're done the episode, but like, check out the form, but also let me know if there are other questions that I should be asking on that form, because maybe there's some data that I should be capturing that I'm not capturing. Roop-a-doo. What else? What else do I have to say? 2016 is going to be a good year. I have a good feeling about this year. I believe this is the year that we ship E10s to at least some of our release population. So I'm looking forward to that. What else? Oh,
yeah.
I can't think of anything else. I can't think of anything else to say. Normally, I say things all the time. I can normally find lots of things to talk about while we wait for this test to pass. I think it's almost done, by the way. I recognize where we are in the tests. What's going on here? Anyway, let's see. This is dead air. Trying to kill time, trying to fill time. Is there any news to talk about? Any like Mozilla related news to talk about? Nope, but all our tests passed, so that's good. Now I'm going to run them with --e10s. And then I will feel confident in the ability for these tests to pass on our try machines. Look at all these windows opening and spinners. Let's see. New Mozilla news. VR. So the Oculus Rift, you can pre-order it now apparently today. And I know that the VR team recently came out with something called A-Frame, which is like a utility for, or not a utility, it's like a framework for building 3D virtual reality environments for devices like the Oculus using web technology. Because this VR thing is gonna happen. I think this is the time. VR has been tried a couple of times, as far as I know. Like, I'm not that old, but I seem to recall there was like all this hype about VR in the 80s, and I remember VR ML for when the web was still young, and VR never really took off. But now it feels like there's actually a possibility it could happen. And we want the web to be there when it does, and that's what the VR team's working on. I don't know if you know this, but there are VR capabilities in your web browser. There are certain pages that if you go to, and if you have, I believe, an Oculus Rift plugged in, I don't know if it's enabled on release yet, but on Nightly at least, I'm pretty sure if you have an Oculus plugged in, you go to a VR-enabled website, you can like give the browser access to the Rift, and maybe other 3D headsets as well, and then you can view the website. I've seen demos. Josh Carpenter and his team have put together or found really amazing demos, and I've tried them out, and they're a lot of fun. And I can imagine the VR web being really interesting. Like, what does a web page, like, if a web page doesn't have to be a page anymore, it can be a space, a web space. It doesn't have to be this two-dimensional flat surface that you can scroll up, down, left, or right. It can be a web space that you enter. What's that like? You can, imagine you're a restaurant, and instead of having a web page for your restaurant, you have a web space, and you can show people, this is what the food looks like. This is what the atmosphere's like. This is what the restaurant insides look like. All right, our test pass. So it takes a little bit long. It's like 2 or 3 minutes. It takes a while. All right, but I feel good about that. Sorry for wasting your time talking about restaurants, but I really want to make sure that those tests passed. So here's another failure right here. Let's check it out. I don't think that's a Monkey test. Is it a Monkey test? Let's test it. Come on. Aha. So that fails. And here we go. Unsafe Kapow usage forbidden. So this is a test failure here in the Special Powers API. Line 79. 79 is wrapper, is wrappable. So I'm pretty sure we need it, so we need to make it so that this force permissive cows allow stuff in the scopes to be accessed from non-privileged scopes. We want to basically allow kapows here, and there's a way we can do that. We can allow kapows in particular scopes, for now anyways, using this, permit kapows in scope. Allow this scope to access kapows for testing. So let's try that now, see if that passes. Nope. Line 79. And I wish I had a stack here. And you know what? I'm gonna get one. Line 79. Dump stack. Although, hang on a second, 79, I had changed. You know what? I think that unsafe kapow thing I added was right, but I need to build this directory. Where is Special Powers API? That's under testing. Passed. All right, so that's good. Special Powers API, where is that used? Inside of here. All right. It's funny because Special Powers API is provided by an add-on, so I would have expected Special Powers API to have automatically assumed the ability to access kapows, but I guess not. All right. Oh, maybe it's because we load it in the content process. Aha. Aha, that's why. So I'll normally for the script is loaded as a content script, as a frame script. We need to make sure that the frame script can access kapows. Can access kapows from the parent. Okay, so that makes sense. Bug. So I'm gonna add that. We're done here. Allow Special Powers API.js to access kapows when run as a frame script. Okay, I'll have Bill review that. What's next? What is next? We got one, and then we have this one. Toolkit, browser add-on performance alerts. I think I'd already messed with this before. So I should make sure that this runs with E10-E10S as well. I'm certain it will, but just to be sure. What? Special powers wrap is undefined. What you talking about? Oh, can this... You know what? I don't think this test is allowed to run in E10S mode. And one of the things that I've realized over the years is that when you manually run a single test, if it's been outlawed for a particular... This test is only supposed to run the main process, yeah. Okay, so that's why. But if you run the single test, you bypass all of the run if or skip if rules. Okay, so that's working as expected. So let's go and look at this other one now. I should have run that with --E10S, but we'll try it without --E10S to start. Let's see if it fails. So that passes, and then with --E10S. Passes. So what's this failure about that it's reporting on try? Where did I see it? Oh, was it an intermittent that I already add on performance alerts too? Where did I see it? Add on performance alerts 2. False equals true is what I'm supposed to see. Test timed out. Jank is... Let's look at the log. Watch add-on and install it. Create async. So one thing I can do is I could try running the whole directory again, because maybe this is a thing that only rears its head when you run the tests in sequence. So let's try running the whole suite. I saw a couple errors in there. Still passed, but I saw a number of errors, so I wonder if there's like a... Here, I should copy all this and then search for those errors that I saw. What was it? Swear I saw something that was like exception What? What? Certain I saw something about a kapow. Yeah, wait, no. JavaScript error. Maybe I got the casing wrong. Telemetry. Operation possible. Not possible on a dead kapow. So maybe that's what I was seeing. Yeah, that was probably what I was seeing. Dead kapow. Error burning kapow. Operation not possible on dead kapow. This is on browser add-on performance alerts. Interesting. I wonder if this is a problem with, this is an intermittent that, you know, on performance alerts when we attempt to burn a kapow. So one thing about kapows is that they represent things in other processes, and but they don't hold references. So that means that whenever suppose you have a kapow that's representing an object in the content process, and in the parent process you like manipulate it, and that works fine. But if this object gets garbage collected in the content process, the parent, even though the kapow still exists, it just starts calling it a dead kapow and starts throwing exceptions. But you don't hear about it whenever this thing stops existing. So the way to you have to kind of make sure that you hold a reference to this thing for as long as you care about. And I wonder if we're not doing that. Kapow, burn in sandbox. Like maybe we... How do we keep the function alive? Like, what? Burner. Burner. What is this thing? What am I trying to do? Let kapow burner equal that. Kapow burner. Send that up. Now, hopefully this doesn't get garbage collected. And then what I'll do is I'll put the output into a text file, and we'll see if those errors come back. One of the problems of doing that is now I can't see the contents of the error file. I guess I should tail f output log. Where are we at? Past 2 tests. Still running tests. Oh, you know what? I don't think this is the right file. There we go. Too many outputs. Aha. And the big ass error. What's that all about? Total user time, possibly longer. Okay. Although I want to know about dead kapow. Dead kapow. Error Telemetry stopwatch, telemetry stopwatch, telemetry stopwatch. Dead kapow error went away, so maybe that will take care of it. Keep. So what I'm gonna do is I will put that here with the down here maybe. So I'm gonna shelve. I'm gonna update to down here to just kind of keep all the performance stuff together. I'll update down to there, 692. Shelve is like git stash if ever you never used it before. Unshelve. It's an extension. You have to enable it in your HGRC file. That is a thing you must do. And now I will take a look, make sure that this is what I actually want to commit. Looks good to me. Commit bug so and so bug that hold a reference to the kapow burner for add-on perf monitor tests to avoid dead kapows. R York. And now I will evolve. Evolve! Oh, what? I wanted to, oh, I guess what I wanted to do was actually to rebase R34230349BF8. I guess I could have just used the number, rebase that onto the top. Okay. And I'll update to tip, and then you know what? I think we can go ahead and mark that probably closed. Well, I'll push it to try again. And then we have all these DevTools failures to worry about. But you know what? I'm not going to get into those right now. I am going to... We took care of 4 of these, I think. So I'm going to push these to try and see what happens. See if anything else gets shook out. Push to try. Do 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 do. We got 5 minutes left. My sound effect is not working for that. Sound effects. I rely on you. Everything I have is broken. Alright, so here's the job. Push to try. And I will put a link down there. Great! Hooray! Sound effect? Oh, come on. Seriously? Nothing's coming out. If I trigger it here, we got 5 minutes or else I'm not going to have any closing music. Nope. It's receiving it. I just can't play any sounds. Let's see. Can you hear it whenever I go to? Shoot. How do I test this? I'm outputting the Soundflower. Is it possible that Soundflower is busted? Just take a look here. I'm going to output to my standard out instead, my standard audio output device. I'll put it into my headphones. Okay, I can hear it. And now back to Soundflower. There it is. Soundflower was busted. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. Is that we're almost done. And so here's my new tri-push. It's going to bake. In the meantime, I'm going to work on something else. But we did some good stuff today. What did we do today? We did that code review on that session restore work that York was working on. And I started digging through a couple of those new test failures for this Kapow outlawing thing. It's one of my M8s. It's high priority. I'm hoping to sort of get most of it done this week, if not completely done this week. I was also thinking about this other work that's kind of been deprioritized. The Kapow thing is kind of more important right now, so this profile dumping work has been deprioritized. But that's it. I think I'm going to call it. So thank you so much for watching episode 39 of The Joy of Coding. Please rate, please comment and rate. This is a thing that people do on YouTube. They ask you to rate the episode, but instead of just like adding a thumbs up or something, I've got this Google form. If you go here, you can like let me know how amazing or awful this episode was. You can tell me things that you want to see more of or less of and other information, and I'd love to hear from you. And if you don't want to fill out the form is anonymous. I won't know who you are. But if you want to talk to me, you can always talk to me in IRC, or you can email me, or you can send me a message, or you can talk to me on Twitter somehow, or comment on my blog, which should have my email address somewhere. Get in touch if you want to hear from me, and if you want to talk. All right. Whoops, I accidentally cut myself off there. Thank you so much for watching episode 39 of The Joy of Coding. Again, Happy New Year. It's the start of 2016. I think it's going to be a great year. We're going to have a great bunch of episodes this year. I'm going to have new sounds. We're going to be trying new things. I've got this like measuring, rating thing going on. So hopefully this show will become better for you, the viewer, because that's who I'm doing this for. You, dear viewer. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you next week.
The joy of coding.
Take care. Bye-bye.